Then, yeah.
Oops, I should never start a sentence with That's what my speech teacher told me. Welcome to the Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency. Today's Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. It's 4 o'clock. Copy of the Nebraska Open Meeting Act is on the north wall of the agency boardroom. We'll hold the meeting in accordance with those rules. If anybody wants to come forward to address the agency on any agenda item, you're welcome to do that. We just ask that you check in with Lisa and give them name and address, and we'll certainly recognize you. However, we won't be able to comment back, but I don't really see a whole lot of public here, so I think we're safe today. In attendance today, we have how many are 5 administrators? We got the Mayor Bob Roseland from Springfield, Tori Sheets, she's the deputy city administrator for Gretna, Joe Susi, he hits the softball a mile, and he's also the public works director for La Vista. Rusty Hikes, the mayor of Bellevue. Mark Sturzma is the deputy city administrator for Papillion. I'm Don Kelly. I represent Sarpy County. We got some really important people out in the audience, but I won't introduce them because they're going to talk to us. So if you would, silence your cell phone, and let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we get started with the reports, does anybody from the agency board have any comments? Okay, then we'll get right into the agenda, starting with staff updates. First up is our administrator, Dan Hoynes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, member mayors, fellow administrators. There's a handful of things to talk about in this report. In just a couple of minutes, Mark Setout's going to follow up and do a presentation on the upcoming FY 26-27 budget. That's been discussed a couple of different times at the staff level. This is where we're seeking input from you folks, pending an approval at the April 22nd meeting. So Mark will go over some more detail with that. From my report specifically, I'd like to talk a few minutes about agenda item 7, the PFM proposal. First thing, Mr. Chair, member mayors, administrators, is, why are we doing this? It's a little bit of a kind of a mid-game call, if you will. What we're trying to do is identify funding sources to build lines as members need them while maintaining agency financial liability, also known as, in our office, do not levy a property tax to pay for our debt and future operations. That's what we're trying to protect here when we're talking about all these variables. But again, understanding our mission is to get sewer pipe in the ground for members when they need it, where they need it. And so to step back and engage PFM, I think is a good pause point for us. They were involved early on as a fiduciary for Sarpy. Not concerned about a conflict. I've shared that with your administrators. They do this frequently. But posing 3 questions to them, and again, it's narrow in scope. It's not a rehash of an Ernst Young study or a retooling of all of our projections, but the 3 questions are, should we consider allowing reimbursement? If so, what would the terms and conditions be? We've got 2 versions of reimbursement I talked about last month. We've got the temporary and we've got the expansion in Bellevue, but we've never resolved the issue of a member building something that's our agency trunk line and how to reimburse them and the value of that. So that's question 1. There's also been a question we're finalizing or will be finalizing soon. The WIFIA loan, we project very conservatively, we're only going to need $33 million to finish the design permitting of that. That loan was for 45. So question 2, should we use that? question 3, the agency's obviously generating revenues higher at a faster rate than we predicted. A couple $1 million to the positive last year. Pretty confident it'll be a couple $1 million again this year. I've talked about a debt reserve policy, but what we're asking PFM to do is the county's required, if you don't recall, to set aside about $9.5 million if we borrow 33 in a reserve account in case we default. And if we went to the 45 plus, I think it's over $10 million, they've got to put that aside. So should we partner with the county in that with some of our excess revenues, or what should we be doing? What we're protecting against here is our debt service is only $1.5 million, give or take, at this point. Here in about 6 years, for about 20-year period, it goes up to about $5.7 million, our mortgage payment coming in. And so we're trying to protect against that. And so there's just lots of pieces of the puzzle here we're trying to solve, and I think PFM is well positioned. They'll come in and do answer those 3 questions within 60 days, so we don't stall too much in here. But and I'll just carry my comments forward on that agenda item, but wanted to give you a chance in this forum to ask those. Again, deliverable 60 days, 25, minimum 25, maximum 50,000 that we can absorb because we've spent far under our consulting line items for this year. The last thing that I'll talk about today is we have formally submitted 3 congressionally directed spending requests through our congressional delegations, one of them in Congressman Flood's jurisdiction. Over in Sarpy County, Mayor Hike's jurisdiction, $3.4 million, the little blue stub there, Mayor. Put in for that for funding. And then I call it the middle or the central blue line that runs from north of Springfield to south of Papillion's jurisdiction. We put in 4.9 through Senator Fisher's office just today. We submitted that, and thank you for your support letters, by the way. And another 4.9 through Congressman Bacon's office, which will get us really close to funding that particular line. We're also going to move forward with the Congressman Bacon, it's in the budget grant to the $2 million he got us to actually acquire the easements for all of the blue lines, not just 2 or 3, but the ones in Bellevue, ones in Papillion, Springfield, and the one further south in Mary Roseland's jurisdiction. So I think you hear me use this word frequently. I think it's important to creating that certainty to design it, permit it, get those easements for all of our phase 1B, I think is a really good place to put us in moving forward. So Mark has some of those details. I could talk to her longer than you probably want to listen, so I'll pause there and answer any questions, and I'll just come up and carry my comments over on the PFM proposal. Any questions, sir?
No, but on Monday morning, I attended a State of Bellevue thing, and Congressman Flood was there, and we had a meeting with him after the presentations, and I gave him a heads up that grant had been put in, and he was glad. He's all about his congressional district, and so the only good, really viable project was the one for Bellevue, and it's a good.
And it's very viable. It's important and needed, but yeah, it's all 100% his district.
The question I have about that line in particular is that what opens up like 42nd and K part area and kind of.
Yeah, maybe I'll have the engineer answer that for you, Chairman, so that it's more accurate.
All right. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure. The reason I say that, I got a call from a landowner down there, and I turned him over to you guys, so you're familiar with it. I'm just wondering if that line would service that, or is it a different area? That's all I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Any questions for Dan? All right, thank you, Dan. Engineering update from Jeff Thompson, Agency Project Engineer.
Chairman Kelly, agency member mayors, thank you. Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. I guess I'll address your question first in regards to opening up that service area. The agency's ridge line runs just about to Cape Art Road, so it will open most of that area south of there. It will provide service to a fair amount of existing subdivisions within Bellevue's jurisdiction as well that are pumping up over the ridge line already. So those lift stations would be able to go away and gravity flow down to our Zweibel Creek lift station at 63rd Street and then pump it across to Omaha.
with the Platteview Expressway, or South Sarpy Expressway, I guess it's called, opening up, that if that sewer line can get built, then that opens up that whole area for development, right?
Correct, yes.
That would be most awesome.
Yeah, that was one of my reporting items today, is coordination with the Sarpy County team on the Platteview Road or Sarpy South Expressway project. There's some relocation of our existing utility. We thought we'd coordinated well enough with them on the front end, but unfortunately some plans had changed in the road alignments and with some dams and things like that. So we're relocating some of that utility, but coordinating with them on that effort.
Okay.
And then I guess just a few other things to note. Nothing on the construction side, obviously, but have been positioning with hopefully some approvals today on some contracts with Hawkins and HDR, getting meetings scheduled and things aligned with trying to start the design for the next couple of phases of work. So want to make sure that we hit the ground running next week and try to get them kicked off and start working towards an engineering design plan and looking at alignments and some of those things. But I can discuss those further at the time when they're on the agenda for discussion. Seen a fair amount of development reviews coming in. Again, most of them are coming from the city of Springfield, Sarpy County, and Papillion, but just continuously advancing those developments through their preliminary platting and final platting process. But things are moving along fairly well in those jurisdictions. So pleased to report that. And then I am working with Sean Bell with HDR to attend a Great Plains Conference next week, which is sponsored by APWA and NWEA and SWANA, to do a presentation on the agency's infrastructure, where we've been, what's open, where we're moving, and kind of how we're moving in the next direction with the design and things, just to kind of inform the development community and the engineers that work in the development community. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Where's that conference at?
It's in La Vista at the Embassy Suites.
Oh, local.
Yep, local, yes, sir.
Any questions for Jeff? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks you, Jeff. Financial dashboard, Mark set out. Agency treasurer.
Okay. Good afternoon, board members. Mark Setout, Agency Treasurer. This is the Wastewater Agency's monthly financial dashboard report for the period ending February 28th, 2026. A couple updates. We did add line items for the Bellevue Force Main contributions in the connection fee revenue section of the dashboard, as well as a line item for Bellevue Force Main payments in the other revenue section of the dashboard. So these entries are offsetting but necessary to show on the dashboard so that we are listing our connection fees accurately. So as you will recall, Bellevue paid $3.68 million to upsize the agency's pipe in their jurisdiction. This is sitting on our balance sheet as a liability we owe back to Bellevue. So we are paying it back via credits when we invoice connection fees to them. And it is then reducing our liability we owe to Bellevue. And that is what is shown here on the dashboard, and I'll walk you through all of that here now. So starting off with revenues for connection fees, we invoiced Bellevue for almost $132,000 in connection fees for the Bellevue Water Park development. You will see the $14,889 there in the credit for the Bellevue Force Main contribution. And then down below, further down here in the other revenue section, you'll see that offset for the positive for the payment, which is the $14,889 as well. So just a necessary accounting adjustment between those two buckets that I wanted to make sure to point out. Back to the top then, from Papillion, we received $48,489 in connection fees, and that's in from Oakleaf. Okay. So on to flow revenue, we billed $64,000. We are, for the period, we are trending slightly lower than budget, but fairly close. You can see off to the right there in gray, this was the first month we recorded any revenue from sewer rates last year. So that was the first time ever, almost 17,000 from Sarpy. Moving on to other revenue, again, there's the Bellevue Force Main down there, and then the interest income, or this is the only other line item with any change for the period. And that is, we recorded almost that 45,000 in interest income for February. As I noted last month, we did receive $34,372 from our 5-month CD investment with 5 Points Bank. That amount is represented in this number, and that puts our interest income fairly close to budget for the period. Our total revenue was $289,000 for the month. That's $3.3 million year to date, which puts us at about 109% of budget for the year for total revenue. Moving on to expenses, we had $146,000 in expenses for February, putting us at $2.5 million for the year, which is only about 12% of the budgeted amount forecasted for the year. Again, this is because of the reduced project costs, as we have been waiting for the WIFIA scope change to be approved. And the net income for February was $143,000, which pushed us back over into the black for year to date at roughly $24,000. Loan balances, not much change there, only $5,000 and some change from WIFIA that we spent and then was reimbursed. SRF balances remain unchanged from last month. Pilot funds also remain unchanged from last month. We collected $1.1 million this year, and then $3 million since agency inception. Cash, very nominal changes to cash month over month. Total cash on hand was sitting at $9.3 million for February. And that is all I have for you today regarding the dashboard. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Mark?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, that takes us to the consent agenda. We have 5 items on the consent agenda. Unless any of the agency members want to discuss one of those items, I'll take a motion to approve as published.
Motion Bellevue.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Bellevue and a second by Springfield. Any discussion on the consent? Please vote.
Joe, Susie, are you able to vote? You can just tell me. Are you able to vote? Oh, there we go. Okay. Yay, 6, motion carried.
Okay, on the regular agenda, the first item, number 6, is a presentation on the budget by Mark.
All right, I'm back. Okay, Chairman Kelly, mayors, and admins, I'm here today to present the draft budget for the Wastewater Agency for fiscal year 26-27, as Dan previously noted. This draft budget has been discussed and presented to the admin team by agency staff on 2 separate occasions. So that would have been the March 5th and March 19th admin meetings. A detailed line item budget has been provided for each member in their meeting packet, and we will ask you to formally vote on this budget at the agency's next scheduled meeting on April 22nd. And if you would like to request any changes to the budget, please let us know after the meeting. So this is the Sarpy County and Cities Wastewater Agency draft budget presentation for fiscal year 26-27. We are somewhat following how the county has presented their budgets in the past. So in this regard, our loans plus revenues will equal expenses. This chart gives a data breakdown comparison from last year to this year. As we know, the fiscal 25-26 budget was for a year where the agency saw the major initial construction phase end and operations begin halfway through the fiscal year. The agency is now in an operations phase with some project costs anticipated for future growth, and we see that here in these numbers. The agency's budgeted loan amounts are down almost 49% year over year, as we anticipate less project costs that need reimbursements. Budgeted revenue is up 99%, and budgeted expenses are down 28% year over year. I will note that this total expense metric does include the debt service payments, which were the same this year as they were last year. But we will talk about operating expenses in future slides, which does not include that debt service. Highlighting a few items from the line item budget here. Total operating expenses are reduced by 33%. Again, this excludes that debt service. Several factors contribute to this reduction, but the main drivers are less project costs, and we also have historical data, operations data, that we can use for forecasting. So in the past, for operational budget planning, all we had were projections. And as we gather more historical data from operations, we'll be able to budget and forecast more accurately. Revenues for this budget are reduced by almost 28%, down to roughly $16 million from $22 million. This is a bit of a misnomer from an accounting perspective, but the agency's budget has historically included the loans for the project in with the revenue because we are getting reimbursed for the project costs as they occur, and then those costs are capitalized at the end of the year. To keep things consistent, we included the loans here again. So basically, we are seeing a $9 million reduction in the loan amounts and a $3 million increase in actual revenues from operations. The major increases we are seeing to revenue are with the connection fees based on what we see in the pipeline for upcoming projects that Jeff noted, a yearly increase to pilot, and the $2 million Bacon grant. Remaining capital projects include the engineering, design, and permitting for phase 1B and 2, $500,000 for decommissioning the Sarpy lift station, and $2.4 million for the easement acquisitions that's tied to the Bacon grant. This graph shows our revenues, the largest buckets being the federal grant, the connection fees, and pilot funds, and the loan amounts of $9.7 million are listed in the inner circle of the donut graph here. Debt service, we have our biannual debt service payments due totaling $1.5 million, and we are working on a policy for a debt service reserve fund, as Dan previously noted. Operational expenses are reduced 14% and a 68% reduction in vehicles and O&M costs, as we have purchased the vehicles and much of the equipment and tools that we needed for startup for operations. Personnel costs, we are reducing our costs on outside consultants while we see an increase in full-time salaries and benefits. And this graph shows our expenses, the largest buckets being engineering, D&P, the project costs, and debt service. This slide at the top shows our total debt for the project at $107.8 million when all projected loan balances are closed. The bottom portion shows the escalation of the debt service payments over time, peaking in 2035 and 2036 and running at $5.73 million due each year through 2054, at which time it will trend downward towards the end of the loan term to $1.39 million in 2059. I plan to be retired by then. Hopefully you do too. And then this graph shows that information in visual representation, just showing our debt service payments as they increase over time and plateau in fiscal year 34-35. This is something that we will remain hyper-focused on as we move forward. And that is all that I have for you today for the budget. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
On the personnel costs, the increase is 6.91%. Do you know what the breakout is? How much of that's attributed to, the fringe, the benefit costs increasing, and how much is salary increases?
So a portion of that is we have programmed in 3% cost of living increases, and then there is a portion of that for the treasury position to go from part-time to full-time, which will include benefits and health insurance. So I have the breakout for that, and I can provide that to you.
We haven't incurred that yet then, right? That's just projected for.
That's projected for next year if the budget is approved.
I got you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And I don't need to see
Okay.
I understand what you just said, so
Okay.
makes sense. Anybody have any questions?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good presentation. Okay, item number 7 is Resolution 8, approving professional services proposal from PFM for financial advisors. Dan Hoynes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, member mayors, administrators. I would just one comment. When Mark and I were prepping for this meeting and the budget presentation, and we got to that personnel question, he said, "Do I can have to come up here and sing for my job if the questions come up on?" I said, "No, we'll take care of that." So I'll just move forward my comments on the PFM from my original ones. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Would respectfully request approval.
Well, I think a little background information, and you did a good job doing that. But, and I know that we're seeing actual flows, which allows us to maybe forecast a little better. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of things happening in the agency among members that we really never envisioned. And we need to accelerate development in Gretna so that they can service growth out there. Papillion wants to open up the watershed to the south. There's a big swath of land there. And so I just felt, and I originally approached you about it. I said, was it Price Waterhouse Cooper, right? Ernst Young. Great firm, accounting firm, but the information that we projected our whole financial future is like 10 years old. Mm-hmm. And so, although we're getting actual flows and we can kind of forecast where it's going, I just thought it would be a good idea if we had, a more up-to-date financial model, so that when we're negotiating with the members on, whether it be pioneering their own lines or whatever, at least we'd have an updated, instead of using a 2018 data, we're going to be using 2026 data. And I would expect that PFM will be talking to the development community and getting a feel for where they and those kind of things. Is that what they're going to do?
Yes, that's part of the process.
Okay. Well, I think it's a good idea. I mean, nobody wants to spend $50,000, but, garbage in, garbage out.
Well, I think it's a confidence checkpoint for all of us. If you go back and look, we were not even intended or programmed, if you're talking about the rate study, which was an Ernst Young's Crow, we were programmed not to begin to even cash flow for 5 years. We're doing it in year 2. So we're better, but how much better, and how do we protect against those out years, and how do we, work with these members to get that constructed? So I was actually sat by Deputy Administrator Sturzman at lunch today, and I was reminiscing with him that when I was city administrator and hired him as planning director, he told me then, and it applies here, that cities that have parking problems are doing something right. That's 20 years ago. Well, translated, this agency that has a problem that we need more sewer lines, we're doing something right. In Sarpy County, we're blessed here. So, but I think the reality of somebody with a real fiscal background will give us all a confidence level, Mr. Chairman and members, to say we should or should be doing this.
Yeah, and I mean, and Susan Gerlach, she's probably about as good as it gets, you know, for terms of reputation and insight and knowledge. I think she'll do a great job.
Very confident in her skills and her firm's skills.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Dan? Motion?
Motion Bellevue.
Second?
Second.
Okay, motion Bellevue, second Springfield. Any further discussion or questions on this matter? Please vote.
Yay, 6, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Item 8 is Resolution 9, approving the professional right-of-way services proposal with Midwest Right-of-Way Services, Jeff Thompson, agency project engineer.
Chairman Kelly, agency member mayors, Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. Thank you. I guess one thing I'd like to caveat this item and the next two is with the fact that they have been programmed into the budget for next year, and they do all fall within the confines of our $33 million cap that we've agreed to the county with on WIFIA. So all of these are easily fundable and within the confines of the WIFIA loan that we currently have and the agreements we have with the county. So with that being said, the first item that you see here is a proposal for services to provide right of entries with Midwest Right-of-Way, Midwest Right-of-Way Services. They're a firm that provides negotiations and documentation for the Uniform Act in getting on properties to get all of the preliminary geotechnical services, surveys, and those kinds of things that are going to be needed to perform the actual design work. So the contract value is currently estimated at $396,000. They did provide us with an hourly with a maximum not to exceed limit of that $396. So we'll be billed on an hourly basis. It's just not a lump sum contract. They will bill us based on the hours put into each individual tract and parcel and negotiations with those property owners. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions?
It's a lot of small tracks in that then. 220 tracks, is that right?
Excuse me?
Is there 220 tracks?
220 tracks, yeah, that's for all of Phase 1B and all of Phase 2. So it's a fairly lengthy amount of area that we have to deal with. And in some cases, we looked at it not knowing what side of the creek we may need to be on and property owners differing. We kind of erred on the side of being high with that. So just wanted to make sure we were covered and weren't coming back asking for more.
How many tracks were on the first phase, 100?
Oh, 125-ish, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Any other questions? Motion, please.
Motion Bellevue.
Second, Gretna.
Okay, I have a motion by Bellevue and a second by Gretna. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Yay, 6, motion carried.
Okay, Jeff, item 9 is also yours. It's Resolution 10, approving an agreement between Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency and HDR for engineering services for Phase 1B and 2.
Chairman Kelly, agency member mayors, Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. This is the actual design contract with HDR to perform the design services for Phase 1B and Phase 2. It also includes some sub-consultants to perform the surveying work and geotechnical work and some of the other due diligence work needed to actually do the physical design. A couple of notable items, the sub-consultants fees that HDR is carrying, we've agreed with HDR that they're not going to provide any upcharge on those pass-throughs from their contract to the agency. So it'd be just like the agency was contracting directly with those folks. So there's certainly a savings and value there in both a monetary value and then also in a coordination value as well. HDR's fees themselves are about 5.3 million. If you look at the contract, the total is about 6.8, but that includes their subconsultants. So I guess with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. I do have Sean Bell. I know in the past, Leanne Zitlow was kind of the HDR rep, kind of the face of HDR with the agency board. I did ask Sean to attend today because he'll be kind of stepping in and filling in and helping and coordinating with me along the way with the rest of this design project. So Sean's here if you have any questions for him or myself, but happy to answer any of them.
Okay, one question, maybe just to clear it up for me. You said this is in the budget, but the funding for this is DP&E, right? The funding is coming from
Yeah, the WIFI alone, yes.
So that's beyond the 33. That's
No.
in the 33?
It's in the 33, correct.
Okay, cool. Very good. Any questions? Motion, please.
Second, Bellevue?
Okay, I have a motion by Papillion and a second by Bellevue. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Yay, 6, motion carried.
Okay, the last item on the agenda today is Resolution 11, approving the construction phase price proposals number 10 and 14 for the wastewater system. Jeff.
Chairman Kelly, agency member mayors, Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. Yes, this resolution actually entails two construction phase price proposal changes. The first one is for the decommissioning cost of the lift station that was previously owned and operated by Sarpy County at the corner of Highway 50 and Fairview Road. The second item is for pre-construction services. They will be assisting us with the design, providing kind of a contractor insight along the way as we're looking at alignment selections, readily available materials, different constructability things and whatnot in relationship to creek crossings and just providing kind of a contractor perspective, which is what the whole CMAR process is really about. So the value of that component is about $300,000. The value of the decommissioning cost, even though we had it budgeted at $500,000, they're currently estimating it to come in at about $375,000. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for Jeff? Motion, please.
Make a motion.
Second, Bellevue?
Okay, a motion by Springfield and a second by Bellevue. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Yay, 6, motion carried.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Our next meeting is going to be held on April 22nd, 2026, right here in the same room. All the agenda items have been addressed as published in the Sarpy County and Cities Wastewater Agency Board is adjourned.